Decisions, decisions, decisions. It's not easy to make decisions in everyday life as it is. We often look for guidance, we ask others for their input, and we do our own research online and eventually come to a conclusion that we can decide to live with. Having said that, no matter what sort of research I do, no matter who I talk to, deciding between the Z Fold 4 and the new S23 Ultra is one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make, at least when it comes to tech. Both of these flagships have their own unique benefits that make deciding between the two nearly impossible. My name is RJ and this is my comparison between the Z Fold 4 and the S23 Ultra. In this comparison video, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be speaking to you guys on my own personal experience with both of these devices. And based on my experience with each one, you guys can decide for yourself which device to go with. You see, everyone that watches this video is unique and different in their own right. Each of you live your own unique lifestyle, and based on your lifestyle, a Fold 4 or an S23 Ultra will make sense to you after watching this video. Honestly, I love both of these phones. One is quite literally a rectangular slab of glass that unfolds into a 7.6-inch tablet. There aren't many phones on the market that can currently do that. Design-wise, the Fold 4 is narrower and shorter than the S23 Ultra, but it's way thicker and a bit more cumbersome to carry around in your pockets. Biometrics-wise, you're looking at an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner on the S23 Ultra versus a capacitive fingerprint scanner on the Fold 4. I personally do prefer the location of the fingerprint sensor on the Fold 4. It's just a very natural placement. My thumb naturally does gravitate towards the area on my phone anyways when I hold it, so a fingerprint sensor on the side makes a lot of sense to me. Both of these fingerprint scanners are very reliable, with the Z Fold 4's fingerprint scanner being noticeably faster. On the S23 Ultra, it does take a good second for your fingerprint to scan then get into your phone. But of course, since the Ultra does feature an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner, it is the more secure out of the two. The S23 Ultra, in my opinion, takes it in the design round. It's got a 6.8-inch slightly curved display with a boxier build, which does give it pretty good grip from an ergonomic standpoint. In the hands, the narrow external cover screen on the Z Fold 4 makes it easier to reach across when holding the phone one-handed. But that thick and heavy phone feel is always there. There's no question about it. The beauty of the Fold 4 comes in its versatility. Yeah, for sure, it's a little bit chunkier and heavier than the S23 Ultra, but it's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make to carry around a mini portable theater experience in the palm of my hands. Expanding on the inner display, let me tell you that this display is incredible to interact with on an everyday basis. It's the perfect phone to browse the web, read an ebook, play games on, and to watch videos and movies on. 7.6 inches doesn't sound much larger than the 6.8-inch panel found on the Ultra, but due to the Fold 4's almost square-like aspect ratio, the Fold 4's inner display is much bigger in surface area. In fact, the Fold 4 offers 60% more display area than the S23 Ultra. Of course, a common question I often get asked is, what about the crease? Does the crease found in the middle of the Z Fold 4's inner display bother you? To be quite honest, it really doesn't. I've used this analogy before in the past, and I'll keep using it until people stop asking me about the crease. Okay, so you don't see your nose because your brain ignores it. While your nose is always in your field of vision, your brain filters it out because it's not information you need to function on a day-to-day basis. If you're looking down at your nose right now, you have to subscribe to the channel because I made you look. But all jokes aside, simply putting it, over the past few months of using the Fold 4, my brain has completely learned to ignore the inner crease. Another question I commonly get asked is, how is the long-term durability of the Fold 4? And that's a very fair question to ask. After all, this is a folding phone with a ton of moving parts. The hinge will most likely survive the lifetime of this device. You will have to be cautious around sand and dusty environments because unlike the S23 Ultra, the Fold 4 doesn't come with any dust resistance whatsoever. And while the Fold's durability has improved with every passing generation, the Fold 4's inner ultra-thin glass is susceptible to damage. With that being said, if you are careful with your devices like how I am, you'll be more than fine with a foldable device. My Fold 4 doesn't have any fingernail imprints and the crease is holding up just fine. Just to be on the safe side, make sure you do opt to go with Samsung Care always. Now, specs wise, the S23 Ultra's display is using Samsung's latest 12th generation OLED panel tech, the same one that debuted on the Z Fold 4, but it's a much brighter panel peaking at a max brightness of 1750 nits, compared to the Fold 4's panel that peaks at a max brightness of 1300 nits. Both phones feature excellent calibration, but specs wise, the slight advantage does go to the S23 Ultra, simply for being the brighter display, and it does also come with the new Gorilla Glass Victus 2. With all of that being said though, I simply do prefer the display advantage the Fold 4 provides. For my personal use anyways, I watch a ton of content and I do play a few mobile games every now and then on this device. So just having access to that 7.6-inch inner panel at all times is one of the biggest advantages the Fold 4 can provide. Now, when it comes to battery life between these two devices, this may be a big deciding factor for many of you out there. The Z Fold 4 comes with a 4,400 mAh battery. Meanwhile, the S23 Ultra comes with a 5,000 mAh battery. Battery capacity isn't a great indicator of screen on times, but in this case, it's pretty accurate. With the Z Fold 4, I'm able to get around 6 hours of screen on time on a good given day. This is with me using the inner display for about 70% of my day, which is actually pretty respectable battery life if you do think about it. As I mentioned earlier, I use the Fold 4 for a lot of media consumption, social media browsing, replying to emails, planning my daily routines, just the everyday normal human being stuff. So 6 hours sounds pretty respectable, right? However, the S23 Ultra is a completely different animal when it comes to battery life. This phone is easily the battery king in 2023. Yes, it does beat out the iPhone 14 Pro Max ever so slightly. Compared to the Z Fold 4, it does have a bigger battery, but it also features a much more efficient chipset with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset for Galaxy. With the S23 Ultra, I kid you not, you're looking at anywhere between 8 to 10 hours of screen on time depending on your usage. Keep in mind, I do use both of these phones on a 5G network for about 80% of my day, so the S23 Ultra is an absolute beast in the battery department. Charging speed wise, the S23 Ultra is able to charge at a max speed of 45 watts versus 25 watts on the Z Fold 4. Now, does this make a big difference in my day-to-day routine? To me, it does. That extra 20 watts of speed the Ultra is able to handle does charge the phone a lot quicker. By the time I take a shower and get ready for my day in the morning, the S23 Ultra is already charged up quite a bit. Everyone wants a phone with good battery life, and to not have to worry about charging your device throughout the day is a big advantage that does go to the S23 Ultra. So in round 2, the S23 Ultra takes it. With both of these devices being Samsung phones, they offer Android software with Samsung's own unique skin called OneUI. OneUI's biggest advantage that I can really appreciate is the fact that we can multitask on both of these devices like a boss. It's hands down the best multitasking experience I've ever experienced on any smartphone. So as you guys can probably imagine, multitasking on a 7.6-inch display is incredible. You can actually open up 3 apps at once and go crazy. My favorite go-to on the Fold 4 is the infamous Telegram group chat in one corner, a YouTube video playing straight along the bottom, and I'm always trolling my Twitter family, so I got my Twitter notifications I can check on the upper right hand corner. No phone out there comes remotely close to the multitasking experience the Fold 4 is able to provide. On the S23 Ultra, multitasking is pretty good. You can open up 2 apps at once in a split screen view with a pop-up tab floating around in the corner. But on this phone, I just don't feel as inclined to multitask as I would on a device like the Fold 4. Productivity wise, the Fold 4 is the king. Having a tablet to work on in the comfort of your palms is an experience that no other phone can replicate. I do have to mention though that still some apps are not optimized for the Z Fold 4. You have to sometimes force apps such as Instagram into full screen view, which does hinder your social media experience. Not many apps are optimized for a 4:3 aspect ratio, but this is totally on the developer's end, so not much Samsung can do about it. Speaking of productivity, a big part of being productive for me is using the S Pen. Both of these devices are S Pen compatible. The S23 Ultra comes with an integrated S Pen stylus. The Fold 4 doesn't. You do have to dish out an additional 30 or 40 bucks for this. But the Fold 4's S Pen is bigger and feels like you're writing using a regular pen. A very natural and familiar feel. Not only is the Fold 4 stylus more comfortable to use, you also do get a much larger canvas to doodle and annotate on. So we can give the overall S Pen advantage to the Z Fold 4. Both these devices are great for media consumption. I personally don't like having earbuds stuck into my ear, so I do heavily rely on speakers on my device for a lot of things. So which one out of these two devices have the better speaker quality? With Dolby Atmos support for speakers, I found that the S23 Ultra speakers provide surprisingly well and well-organized audio presentation. Voices appear to correspond well with subjects' position on the screen, and there's more depth than what's found on the Z Fold 4. The speakers also do get plenty loud. The Fold 4 also gets Dolby Atmos support with a dual speaker setup. The difference in sound quality between these two is hard to tell, but the S23 Ultra speaker to me sound a little bit better and it does get more louder. Take a listen for yourself and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I do believe that the S23 Ultra does have the advantage. Another key difference setting apart these two Samsung flagships is performance. The Z Fold 4 features the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Plus chipset. I wouldn't ever say that this phone is slow or laggy. In fact, it's a pretty snappy phone. Apps open and close without any lag. I haven't experienced many app crashes, and scrolling on this phone is a pleasurable experience. But then we make our way over to the S23 Ultra and you realize that this year Samsung isn't messing around. The leap in performance from the S22 Ultra to the S23 Ultra is equivalent to Apple releasing the M1 chipsets for the first time. That's how big of a jump this generation is when it comes to performance. The S23 Ultra features the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset for Galaxy, and it's a very well optimized chipset that works flawlessly with OneUI. Whenever I use this phone, I truly do feel like I'm using an iPhone. The smoothness, the scrolling experience, and the overall fluidity of OneUI is unmatched on this device. I don't know what Samsung did exactly, but they're onto something here with optimization and fluidity when it comes to the S23 Ultra. In the performance round, the S23 Ultra takes it, no question about it. Now we make our way over to the cameras. Both of these phones have a quad rear camera setup. However, the S23 Ultra houses a new 200 megapixel primary camera sensor that offers better detail than the Z Fold 4's 50 megapixel main camera. In my testing, I found that the 200 megapixel main sensor managed to capture fine details exceptionally well. However, the ultra-wide and the telephoto haven't improved all that much. You can say that these shots are equivalent and identical to the Z Fold 4's telephoto and ultra-wide. But if you do care about optical zoom beyond 3x, the S23 Ultra takes the cake once again. With its 10x periscope lens, you can extract a surprising amount of detail from objects far away. The Z Fold 4 can also reach these zoom levels, but it has to rely on the inferior digital zoom. When it comes to video recording, both of these devices can record in 8K. However, the S23 Ultra can go up to 8K at 30 FPS. The Z Fold 4 peaks at a slightly lower 24 FPS. But when it comes to the video quality, the S23 Ultra's 8K is no longer a gimmick. I don't consider myself a professional cinematographer of any sort, but the video quality that this phone is able to provide in 8K is just insane. So if you want to carry around one of the best cameras found on a smartphone, the S23 Ultra is the way to go. However, if you don't care particularly about image quality and you're completely content with above average quality, then the Fold 4 is a fantastic pick. This past October, I was confident enough to take this phone with me to Korea, and quite honestly, the pictures that this phone was able to dish out surprised me. Take a look at these pictures. These pictures were shot using different focal lengths on the Z Fold 4, and to me, these are more than good enough to post on social media. Finding a minimal protective case for the S23 Ultra can be quite the task. So today with me, I got 3 cases from a company that I highly do recommend called Mous. These are Mous's lineup of Limitless 5.0 cases that do feature MagSafe technology, a very useful feature that I personally do love on all of my iPhones. MagSafe lets you attach any MagSafe accessory to the back of your device via magnets. And yes, you can even use Apple's official MagSafe battery bank to charge your S23 Ultra. How cheeky is that? What in particular I love about these Mous cases is these indents right here. These are ridges imprinted into the case that provide you with additional grip. I feel like a lot more companies should be doing this. You also do get raised protection over on the front for the screen and on the back for the cameras. I personally do love the minimal look of this aramide fiber mouse case. If you guys are interested in learning more about these mouse cases, there are links in the description below for you guys. At the end of the day, both of these phones are solid options. Do you prefer a phone that's a productivity beast that's great for watching content and known for its unmatched versatility? Or do you prefer a phone that's quite literally the best phone Samsung's ever made, with excellent battery life, unmatched performance, and spectacular cameras? Now that you have all of the facts, the choice is ultimately up to you. Drop a dolphin emoji down in the comments below if you're team S23 Ultra, or drop a peach emoji down in the comments below if you're team Z Fold 4. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and drop a like on this video if you did find this video helpful. It does help me out a lot. And don't forget to flex with your tech.